Hello and welcome to the first annual ELO-Coaster Wooden Coaster Poll. This poll is different than most others in that it uses a ranked pairs tabulation formula, much like Mitch Hawker's well-regarded poll from a few years ago. Instead of just adding up total points, it looks at each possible pair of coasters and asks, of the voters who have ridden both of these rides, which one did they prefer? That's pretty simple, yes? So it doesn't matter how many voters rode a particular coaster, it only matters how it compared to the other coasters among the voters who had ridden both of them. Check the link in the description for a detailed explanation of just how this all works. And even though this was the first year of the poll, we got more than 100 ballots from all over the world. The voters were pretty well traveled too. The average voter had ridden 55 different wood coasters. The ballot listed every wood coaster that operated in 2017, and voters ranked all the coasters they had been on. Then the ballots were run through the tabulation software, and the results were pretty interesting. So without further ado, here are the top 25 wooden coasters in the world for 2017. Kicking off the list is Raven at Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. Built by Custom Coasters International, which we'll call CCI from here on, Raven is the little coaster that could. Holiday World was a small park in a small town and was pretty much off the radar for most coaster enthusiasts until 1995, when Raven proved that a great design is even more important than lots of speed or great height. Taking advantage of a hilly lakeside setting, Raven starts out strong and finishes even stronger. Boardwalk Bullet at Kemah Boardwalk in Texas is one of those coasters that is off the beaten path for a lot of enthusiasts, because the Houston area has been without a major theme park since the closure of Astroworld in 2005. That's a shame too, because this coaster, designed by the Gravity Group, is crazy good. Full of laterals, track buried inside the structure, and pacing that never lets up, this Seaside Woody is worth adding to any Texas coaster trip. Be sure to check out elocoaster.com for the full article on this ride. The link is right down there in the description. Renegade at Valleyfair in Minnesota was built in 2007 by Great Coasters International, which we'll call GCI from here on. After 10 years of operation, it's still kicking butt. Good speed, lots of direction changes, a pretty smooth ride, and some nice moments of airtime all combined to put this coaster solidly into the top 25. Thunderhead at Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee is a raucous tangle of track set back into a corner of the park. Another GCI creation, it was the first to use single-bench Millennium Flyer trains. It has placed easily in the top tier of wood coasters ever since its debut in 2004. Prowler at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri is the third GCI design in a row on our list. It's set down in a valley in a remote corner of the park, so it's a bit hard to find, but well worth the effort. The ride is absolutely bonkers, throwing direction changes, airtime hills, blind corners, and blistering speed at you with no time to catch your breath. Oh, and if you happen to be in the park in the evening, do not miss a chance at a night ride on this thing. It's a whole new beast after dark. Rampage at Alabama Splash Adventure just outside Birmingham is a CCI design, and it kicks off the top 20. Based on a coaster called Megaphobia across the pond in Wales, Rampage ups the ante by making use of the hilly terrain it sits on, throwing in lots of airtime and great drops. Shivering Timbers at Michigan's Adventure is a huge, sprawling out-and-back coaster built by CCI. While the coasters on this list up till now have been twisters with lots of tight corners, Shivering Timbers goes old school with classic drops and big camelback hills. This monster of a ride is world-class in every sense of the word. Wooden Coaster Fireball at Happy Valley in Shanghai, China is the second coaster by the Gravity Group to make the top 25. It was the first wooden coaster in China and still one of the best. Chock full of airtime, it was an instant hit with Chinese parkgoers, most of whom had never ridden anything like it before. It started a wood coaster building frenzy and orders began pouring in. The Gravity Group now have 8 wood coasters in China, and there will surely be even more in the future. Wodan Timber Coaster at Europa Park in Germany is an absolute blast. Smooth, fast, very re-rideable, a beautiful structure, and one of the most elaborate queue-line themes of any wooden coaster anywhere. There's nothing about this coaster that I don't like, and I'm thrilled to see this GCI masterpiece rank in the top 20. At number 16, it's Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce in Connecticut. This truly is one of the best and most unique wood coasters anywhere. Set on the side of a mountain and buried in the trees for most of the ride, it starts out with a lot of speed and never lets up all the way to the end. Next up is Troy, a GCI creation at Toverland in the Netherlands. Typical of GCI designs, it's a tangle of twisted track with lots of direction changes taken at high speed. Millennium Flyer trains handle that kind of layout beautifully, which keeps things smooth and rewritable. The theming is obviously centered around the ancient city and the fabled horse, and the coaster even has its own theme music. At number 14, we head to the Great White North to find the wooden coaster at Playland in Vancouver. Since Vancouver is a long way from any other major park, lots of enthusiasts haven't yet made the trip across the border to ride it. And that's a real shame because this coaster is amazing. It has old-school pacing with speedy drops interrupted by slow turns. It has lap bars that sit about a foot off your lap, and it has no seat belts. Airtime? Oh, tons of it. It goes beyond the typical airtime of modern rides and goes right into legitimately terrifying, I don't think I'm going to stay in this car airtime. Add to that some of the best ride operations in North America, and you've got a solid reason to head north. Be sure to check out the link in the description for the full article on this amazing coaster. From old school to modern technology, the next one on the list is Balder at Liseberg in Sweden. It's an Intamin plug-and-play coaster, meaning that the track rails aren't made from stacks of wood, but rather a solid piece of wood that has been carved out of a single beam and then fitted together. This makes for a super smooth ride and the ability to carry out some crazy turns that would be difficult, if not impossible, with traditional track. Balder has plenty of these turns, as well as steep drops and tons of airtime. The next coaster up is Goliath at Six Flags Great America in Illinois, built by Rocky Mountain Construction. RMC has a new kind of track that they call Topper Track. Some people like to debate whether it should even be classified as a Woody, but the debate just gets in the way of the other thing that you should know about these genre-defying coasters. They're freaking amazing. Just look at this thing. You can call it whatever you like. I'm going to call it awesome. Up next is a brand new coaster for 2017, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island in Ohio. It opened in April of this year after a long teaser campaign by the park that had everybody wondering what's in the shed. What they should have mentioned is that this ride is so good it doesn't even need a mysterious ending to get you back in line for more. Easily the highest ranked new Woody of 2017, Mystic Timbers is just one more good reason to get back to Kings Island. And now we move into the top 10 best wooden coasters in the world as voted on by the readers of ELOcoaster.com. At number 10, it's Gold Striker at California's Great America. It's a GCI design, so it's twisted and fast and relentless. That much is a given. But Gold Striker pushes that intensity up a notch or three, and several tunnels in the layout keep riders guessing what comes next. At number 9, it's El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. This is another Intamin brand plug-and-play coaster that almost always shows up on any top 10 list, and why shouldn't it? It's a fantastic ride with huge drops, extreme airtime, and tons of speed. Plus, the twisted finale is hidden down near the ground where it lies in wait as a surprise jolt for first-time riders. At number 8, it's back to the Gravity Group with an absolutely incredible design called Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldameer Park in Pennsylvania. The coaster doesn't look like much from the queue, but that's because a good chunk of it is hidden away from view. After you top the lift, the track swoops to the right as it plunges down the first drop, travels across a highway, then has some nice swoopy turn action out in an overflow parking lot before going back over the highway to finish up. Throw in a bunch of airtime and a turn banked at 90 degrees and you've got yourself a winner. Speaking of the Gravity Group, number 7 is Cú Chulainn at Tayto Park in Ireland. It's the only major coaster in Ireland, and it's at a park that's themed around potato chips. It was the Gravity Group's second coaster in Europe, and it was an instantaneous hit. Named after a warrior legend from Irish mythology, Cú Chulainn gives riders a riotous journey over steep hills, highly banked corners, and numerous crossovers. If you've ever thought that visiting a country just for one coaster is a bit over the top, then you haven't been on this coaster. Plain as that. At number 6 is Phoenix at Knoebels in Pennsylvania. It was originally built in San Antonio in 1948 as the Rocket, but that part closed. In 1985, Knoebels bought it, had each piece of lumber numbered, and then trucked it to Pennsylvania to be reassembled. They proved that Woodies can be moved, even though everyone told them they were crazy. That kicked off a real preservation effort for wooden coasters, and other parks followed their example, saving several more classics from the wrecking ball. That's great, of course, but it's not the whole story. Phoenix is a really, really good ride. The drops, the tunnel, the setting, and the ridiculous salvo of airtime hills near the end of the ride keep this thing in the top 10 no matter how you score the ballots. And if you haven't been to Knoebels, you should go. It's unlike any other park in the US for every good reason that you can think of. Coming in at number 5 is the Voyage at Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. The second of Holiday World's Woodies to make the top 25, Voyage was a real game changer when it opened in 2006. In fact, it was several years later before any other wood coaster would even come close to the sheer power and intensity of this ride. Steep drops, 3 vertically banked turns, 7 tunnels, and relentless speed leave riders exhausted but exhilarated. Now we head to Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri for the number 4 coaster, Outlaw Run. This was the first RMC wood coaster built from scratch using their Topper Track system. Silver Dollar City claims that it's the world's most daring wood coaster, and when it opened in 2013, it was hard to dispute that claim. It's insanely fast, chock full of airtime, and ends with a barrel roll going uphill that turns you upside down twice. Check out the link in the description for the Elocoaster article on this coaster. Now into the top 3, we've got a legit kick-butt ride that often gets overlooked because it's a bit out of the way for most people. Okay, it's a lot out of the way. It's in South Korea. I'm talking about T-Express at Everland, an Intamin plug-and-play coaster that's absolutely nuts. Airtime, laterals, positive Gs, insane bank turns, nearly vertical drops. T-Express throws it all at you and then some in its mile of track. If you find yourself anywhere near South Korea, go ride this thing. At number 2, RMC comes roaring back with Lightning Rod at Dollywood in Tennessee. It's the second of Dollywood's coasters in the top 25. It's the world's fastest wood coaster and the first and only wood coaster with a launch system to get the train up the first hill. This ride is the real deal. Not only does it do some of the craziest maneuvers of any coaster anywhere, it does them all at breakneck speed. It's smooth, disorienting, intense, and not what you'd expect to find at a family-oriented park. Dollywood is one of the most beautiful parks in the world, and it prides itself on being appropriate for the whole family, from grandma and grandpa all the way down to the toddlers. Dolly must be exploring her wild side now, though, and I'm glad she is. Lightning Rod is everything we hoped it would be and more. It comes in at number 2, and be sure to check out the full article on it at elocoaster.com. And now for the big surprise. The best wooden coaster in the world, according to the readers of elocoaster.com, is not at a big theme park in the US. It's at a zoo in Sweden. Kolmården is a family-friendly place with lots of animals, a handful of kiddie rides, and the best wooden roller coaster on Earth, Wildfire. Designed by RMC, it uses the terrain to its advantage and features extreme airtime, ridiculous acrobatics, relentless speed, and wildly banked turns. Smooth, intense, fast, and innovative, Wildfire really pushes the envelope of what a wood coaster can do, and for that, it gets the honor of being voted the world's best wooden coaster in 2017. Do you agree with the results? If you missed voting in the 2017 poll, be sure to head over to elocoaster.com and find out how you can vote in the 2018 poll coming up November in this year. There's a link down in the description. Thanks to everyone who voted in this year's poll. Thanks to Grant Barker and Dave Wong for their awesome help on the code for the tabulation software. And thanks to CoasterNet, Park Vault, Roller Coaster Dream, and everyone else who helped spread the word about this year's poll. Thanks for watching, and have a great year riding the rails.